subscribe to our videos so that more people can hear the Word of God.
Good morning and welcome to 5 Minutes a Day with God, and welcome to Wednesday, and we are going through the book of Ruth. And so today we are going to look at verses 6 through 13 and return to Judah. So join me as I read along. When Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud and said to her, "We will go back with you to your peoples." But Naomi said, "Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have any more sons who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me, and even if I had a husband tonight and then gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters, it is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me." All right. Okay, so let's look at the background. So we have to look, when we look at this passage, we have to look in the context of that culture. Again, lots of times we read the Bible and we look with our Western eyes and we miss things, right? And so in our culture, when a woman is married and her husband passes, she is free, like she's legally free to marry someone else. So, but in this culture was different. So when a woman married, she became basically the property of the husband's family. She belonged to that family. She belonged to that tribe, to that clan. That was her family now. And so even if her husband passed, she still belonged to that family. Do you get the difference? She was not legally or morally free to go back home and marry anybody else, right? So she was bound to that family. And so what would happen, especially so that family was bound to take care of her, also if she was a widow, for the rest of her life. But if she didn't have any children and she was still young and childbearing age, then according to the law that they would provide this is that she would marry, if there was another son, she would marry that son, and then the children that she had would essentially be the dead husband's in his name, and that lineage would continue. And so God provided this for widows. But the problem with Naomi is she had no more sons, but still legally they were bound to her. And so this is, I love about the book of Ruth, because it breaks so many cultural norms, and it kind of stretches things. And so what I love about this is Naomi, she broke the rules. She broke the cultural rules here. By releasing them, she was releasing them from any financial or moral responsibility. And that was huge. For a widow that had nothing, at least you would think that, the readers, people who are reading this in this context were probably like shocked, going, "No, what are you doing? Don't do that." That's right, because at least she would have daughters that could go out and work or do something, right? And that would provide for her and take care of her when she was really sick or ill or older. And so, but think about the love that she had. Think about that sacrifice, that she loved these daughters-in-law so much that she knew that if she brought them back to Israel with the shame of barrenness, being foreigners, being Moabites, right? Israelites were not allowed to marry foreigners, especially because they worship pagan gods. And so that would have been two strikes against them, right? And so she knows that if she takes them back to Israel, that they are basically, all three of them are destined to be penniless, to be vulnerable, to be without any protection. And she didn't want that for them. She wanted them to go back to their parents' home, and hopefully that they could find another husband, maybe be a second wife or a third wife, right, that didn't have the pressure of bearing children, but would be in the safety of marriage. Because without marriage in this patriarchal society, women would be vulnerable and would be at risk and completely destitute. So I just kind of want to leave you with that for a moment. Think of this sacrificial love that she had, that releasing them would cause her to be completely alone and completely destitute. But out of her love, she was willing to do that. All right. We'll see you tomorrow. And remember, 5 minutes in the Word can change your life.